All right, perfect. So yeah, what can I help you guys with?
So following in Dave's footsteps, we're trying to get a lot of the pick list side of things worked out. So working with the business ops team here, we've created two pretty solid connectors. So one of them brings in the list of all open work orders, and so
Okay.
it brings in the work order, the sub assembly, the quantity, and the date. Pretty standard. And then we have a second connector that brings in the bill of materials with relation to giving it a sub assembly number.
Okay.
So, I basically tell it we tell it what we're building, and then it returns what goes into that.
Oh, okay. Okay. Perfect.
So the one issue though is that I'm unfamiliar with arrays and kind of how to manipulate that. So it's coming in as here actually. Can I share my screen with you for a second?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Okay. Actually, I can just share. Yeah. So here is my Tulip instance. Do you see it?
Yep.
So you see how it's bringing in the kind of each line broken up like that into the work order, and then that's the it's bringing in like the work order number for it. Then it says item, and then it's the item that work order is for, the quantity, and then date.
Okay.
What what we would like to do is separate out each one of those categories to then save them into a table that has those columns.
Okay. Yeah. So you can't actually like send. You can't create kind of dynamically like a bunch of records,
Uh,
but we can go take a look at a couple other things. You mind opening up where in the app this trigger runs?
yes. Let me like where the
Like where you make the call to that connector.
yes. So here I'll just share. Okay. You see. So right now, just for testing it. So this one is just kind of a pretty quick. Oh, do you want me to open up the connector actually?
Yeah, actually, that'd be really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have. So it's this one here.
Okay. Wait.
Uh,
Actually, sorry. Before we get into this, are you creating a new connector for each function?
I'm not the one creating connectors, but let me see.
Because
Uh huh.
typically, like if they're all hitting the same endpoint, all of these connectors should go into one, and then each connector can have multiple functions.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I'll talk to Evan about that because that would just clean up a lot of
Yeah. Right.
yeah. Yeah, because we have like three that are going to NetSuite, so it would be nice to just kind of consolidate them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we consolidate the connector and then just have different functions within it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so on this one in particular, so yeah, this is what we're seeing.
Okay. Awesome results. And essentially, you just want to store. Um, Okay, you just want to store the array that this returns into a table.
Correct. I don't know why this one didn't work. Huh. I'll have to talk to him about what that issue was.
Yeah, it's weird because it worked from the app. It looked if it
Yeah.
was the same function. Yeah.
Let me see this one.
Okay, so this one has two functions, for example.
Yeah, so on this one, oh, it's interesting. It seems like there's some like timeout issue on. Okay, I'll I'll get that sorted out.
Wow, that's yeah, it's impressive that you remember all of that off the top of your head.
Oh, it's upsetting how much we've have like committed to memory at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so one of the ideas that we're trying to do is kind of have this. The idea is having this interactive table
Yep.
where right now the long process to doing it is when you click on a row, it pulls the subassembly from that record, and currently it's storing that as a variable. And the slow way is we would create steps for each subassembly. So then it would pull you to there. And then we had a table that had the pick list on there. But the idea is when you pick a subassembly, it's taking that variable and instead passing that to the connector
Yeah.
to then load in the pick list. And so that's what we've been working on, but it's trying to break up the array into a more readable format.
Okay. Yeah. You should be able to display it in an interactive table with it, like without actually storing it to a table entirely. You can store it within the app that can then be used. And that's actually what Dave is doing.
Oh, is that what he was doing? Where instead of having this as a table, you show this as a variable?
Exactly.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's right.
Let's see.
And
so here we would select a variable.
exactly.
What variable do I have here? Work order array.
And actually select results from oh, it's this one here. Okay.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, so I had two different tests where I was saving it to an array and I was saving it to a variable.
Oh, okay, okay.
Should I stick with saving it to an array?
I think this would also work, but let's try it out. And then if you could just add a couple of columns. So in the drop down there, you can actually just the drop down just below that. Exactly. Oh, no.
So I think that's the issue that we're having, is that it's just bringing in results.
No, but it's okay. We'll be able to access all the child nodes. But if instead of selecting this variable, you try selecting the results real quick instead of work order array. But is this a variable widget? Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
So actually go back to the table that you just added. Yep. And then instead of work order array, select results from BOM var.
Oh god.
Yeah. Right there, like the down. Yep. Or maybe that one or the one below that, whichever one is.
I think it might be this
one. But no, it should be like a subchild. Like if you try selecting one of the results one, I think that should.
Okay. So instead of variable.
Exactly. No, the one below that. Yeah, that one there.
Oh, okay. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Oh wow. I think you just solved everything. That is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And now you can add a select button and triggers to this step. So you can do whatever. You don't have to create a bunch of steps for all the individual ones.
That's so perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's incredible. All right, we can't tell anyone that we solved this today. We predicted like 2 more weeks, so.
No, 2 minutes. 2 minutes is all.
Oh my god, that's incredible.
Yeah, but let's just make sure, because I am pretty sure that this will be getting all the information incorrectly. But if you just try running it from
it seems like
a weird connection error.
it seems like
There's gonna message up.
yeah, it seems like we're having some weird like NetSuite login connection error.
Right, of course. I understand.
This is exactly what we were trying to solve. So we'll get that sorted out hopefully within the hour, and then we can come back to this.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not always, and especially like when you're building the apps, like if you have a lot of variables, it can be a little bit confusing to like know exactly where which one you're doing. But essentially, if you see that it's like a subchild, you see how results was like indent. Yeah, right there. Then when you do that, when you select
it, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, here I'll stop sharing. That's incredible. That's exactly what we were trying to solve. And so yeah, seeing Dave present on it, it was just really exciting to be like, that's exactly what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Did you have other questions, by the way? Because you said you had a whole array of questions.
Well, I think, the whole thing was, our line of questioning was being able to manipulate the array to then save it to a table so that then we can interact with that table. But we can just completely skip all of that and go straight from the connector into the interactive table that we're trying to get. That's so perfect. One of the things though actually is, can we then manipulate things in that table? So one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, so we have a work order issued for, let's say, 20 of a subassembly,
Okay.
but the bill of materials, in the bill of materials, it calls for consumption of, 3 of that part per subassembly. But if we're trying to build in 20, we're saving from that original work order, we're saving the 20 value as a multiplier. And then we want to show, quantity to pick as the, the quantity in the BOM times that multiplier.
Oh, okay. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it depends how you'll like kind of go in and build the rest of the app.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm just trying to think of the best way of doing it because it's not like a regular table. What you're seeing, it's
Yeah.
not like a regular table where you can add fields and then just like multiply two numbers and
Yeah.
store
Yeah.
that. But that being said, if you do have the multiplier, you could just like when somebody says, okay, now I'm going to go pick the specific part,
Mhm.
like when they click it, you can just multiply the quantity that you need. So 3 times
Oh,
20. Yeah.
and then
And
show that. So
yeah,
when you select direct, oh, that's really cool. So on that
yeah,
interactive table, when you select it, you load in the quantity from the bill of materials, and then you hit
exactly.
that multiplier. So then you have a variable that just shows large number, how many
Yeah,
of these.
yeah, exactly. And then if you want to do something really cool, is you can actually have a barcode scanner on. I don't know if you already have barcode scanners
Oh,
on all the.
I love barcode scanners.
Yeah, yeah. But you can just like as the person picks them, you can just like scan it, and then at that point, it's been picked, and then just remove it from
Yeah.
like remove it and say, okay, this part's been picked, and then they don't actually even have to like touch the screen or do anything. It's just like they go around with the cart, and like as they pick parts, they scan them.
That's cool. Yeah. So that's one of the things that I mean, if we can cover it now, because if not, that would be next week's office hours questions. But basically, figuring out how do we create that like connection that this part was picked, right? So that because it's not a table, so we can't really like load that record, manipulate that record. How do we say, outside of putting little Boolean checkboxes, a million down? How do we create that, like if we scan a part, then it's picked and now it removes it from there?
Okay, so actually, I can't remember exactly, but um, you. I'm trying to think because so like at any point is the information from work orders being stored into a table in Tulip or no?
Um, Currently, no, but that's something that we definitely want to do. So once that comes in, as an array, showing it as a interactive table, and then ultimately saving that as a regular table.
Yeah, exactly. So that's exactly what I would recommend. Where like maybe you don't have to, but I mean it depends. There's like I would recommend kind of like sketching out like architecting out everything and
Yep.
like understanding how the whole workflow goes. But depends. Like if you often have shortages where you want to like basically say like okay of a specific bill of materials, we only picked this many and these other ones we didn't have them in stock or whatever, so we didn't pick them. Then at that point, you could create a table, just like a massive table that every time you pick something, you add a record to it. And then you say like, this was the target quantity, is how many were supposed to be picked, and this is how many we actually picked.
Okay.
Or if you had a table with all the work orders, then you could just have a Boolean in there saying, yep, this one's been picked, and then store
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's ultimately kind of the thing that we're trying to accomplish is, have a table that has every work order as like the ID, and
Okay.
then it says what's being built. It says when it was issued, and then when the pick happens, saving the date of when this pick happened.
Oh yeah, yeah, perfect. That's totally doable. I mean, you just yeah,
Yeah.
I think yeah, right. You
Yeah.
can see you can access the current date and time and then store that.
Yep.
Yeah. Um. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Actually, and I don't know. Were you on the call? I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. Somebody was describing basically it's somewhat of a similar process in which they were like there. It was like a big cart that was going around and they were picking parts. And they had done a really cool thing where they were actually using this the barcode scanner as they picked parts. and they built in regular expressions into the output, so that when something was picked, only like the person could mark things, like all the different barcodes had different conventions. So some of them like started with 5 digits and then were a bunch of alphanumeric digits, characters. And then, so basically they just like, the operator didn't have to do anything. It didn't have to touch the screen ever. It was just like they were scanning parts as they put them in. And then in Tulip, they recognized what was being scanned. Um, and yeah, sorry, that was a slightly like long way to describe that. You can like do a lot of things when you're scanning parts in with the
Yeah.
barcode. Like,
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, being able to like almost like encode
yeah,
what subassembly this part might go into.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's super. That's really smart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, awesome. So is yeah, if let me see here if there's anybody else on the call has questions, feel free to ask now, but it's actually mostly Tulip folks, it looks like. So if you guys have other questions, we're gonna be hanging out. Or yeah. Grant, have you built anything cool recently that you want to show? That you think would be relevant?
Uh, I mean, I'm doing a lot of these like similar transactions against like a bomb and whatnot for an electronic batch record. Unfortunately, I don't think I can show too much of it now, but it's something that as it gets built, I'll be looking to generalize and show how we transact with a bomb. Because I think there's still some complexities from a product standpoint that we need to manage that we've identified and are looking to handle a little bit better. For instance, if you had linked table records, for instance, which exists today, but being able to link a material to other materials as it's like BOM, and then being able to exchange or transact inventory against all of those items is something that like I'm really interested in being able to do within Tulip. And I don't think there's a easy way to do it yet, but it's a gap that I'm working to identify and scope with our platform team. So that's I think yeah, from a similar like transactional standpoint, I'm hoping very soon we'll have more internal functionality that allows you to do everything that you guys hope to be able to do, and also being able to another I guess area that I think is interesting is a very simple way to do that like bomb multiplier would be with table queries, which is something that we're exploring. So not like being able to say hey, I want to select these columns, but I actually want to like modify this column at the time of display. Like I want to be able to show this column times X variable quantity is a really like interesting concept as well. Similar to SQL, right? You have a BOM that has stores of quantity, but you can very easily render that view with a multiplier. Something like that's I think pretty interesting to pursue within Tulip, and I know we're already looking at the query perspective as well to make tables more powerful. So
Yeah.
but yeah, nothing. I haven't built anything recently that I think is worthwhile of showing off, which is a little bit sad.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I mean, there are like new features. I'm just thinking because I think I'm trying to think if last week it was on this one or on the European one where we had we showcased them, but I think did I show? Oh yeah, no, you were on the user advisory council, so you saw the new features of 194 and 195.
Yeah, no, the one that I'm really excited for is the linking table records.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for that one because there's just so many there's just so many like things that we do in our process already that it's just like this will make it so much better. Like being able to like capture a lot of like if a machine goes through any sort of like any rework or anything, being able to have a separate rework table, but then having all those records linked to like our master like manufacturing database table that says like has this robot been reworked, and being able to kind
Yeah.
of click into that and then see like the entire like rework log for it, or just like
Yeah.
a lot of that like linking of tables is something I'm really excited for.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, you know, I've seen it done different ways with like with like IDs. Like depending on how you give the ID of a table, you can then, you know, in another table link it, you know, through that. But of course, it's not exactly the same. I mean, like
Yeah,
yeah, having it native within the platform where you can just like, you know, yeah, link it and have, like you're saying, yeah, like a rework. Okay, now you know which serial number has been reworked, have multiple reworks, and it is really powerful.
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we found a workaround by, yeah, basically like creating like a secondary table that like changes the position of like, you know, where in one table we have the ID or like a random string as our Tulip ID, but sometimes we want to reference a robot based on the serial number. So
Okay.
it's like creating a table that then inverts that, where the Tulip ID is now the serial number.
Oh,
We have the, you know, we then have like this random string copied over as the first column. So then you can look up the serial, you can scan the serial number to reference what the random string is in that table, and then use the random string to then load the record from the other table.
yeah, you're essentially using like a dictionary of
Yeah.
like, yeah.
The same
Yeah.
with QR codes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, there's a lot of that. So it's really exciting to
Awesome.
get a lot of those things going. And one of the really exciting ones that we got is anything that might have multiple attempts. Like if something like goes through a testing station, and if it, you know, if there is the possibility of it failing, being able to log that failure. But then if that robot, you know, fails again, being able to then load the record based on the same serial number and add to each column.
Huh.
So that
It's
one,
really cool.
yeah. So here, actually, let me see
We
if
worked
I
really
can-
hard on this one.
Yeah, that one's really exciting.
So we have a station here that it passes like a camera test, but sometimes it needs to go through the same test three, times.
4 times.
So
Yeah.
it could be at the station for 15 minutes. It could be at the station for 45 minutes or an hour. And they also have to rework or adjust things in between that time. So tracking the time as well as what they changed and what rework.
Oh, yeah.
So that one is super. And then yeah, so one of the exciting things is everything now has a like mobile subgroup under it, because we run Android devices like all along the floor. So the assembly team, that's actually one that I'm really excited about. Actually, I'll show you that one.
This is my first exposure to Tulip in the last couple months.
Yeah.
And fascinating.
So we
this is
have
so cool.
we have this main like this, trying to like have it so that the mobile phones only have a singular app. And so you have this is like your first thing where you kind of scan the QR code on the robot, and then that loads the record.
Nice.
So we're bringing in the record where it's showing you every step that the robot needs to go through. And when that step is completed, you know, this just says like that was completed. But then we have this really hairy next action button that basically has an if value for every single action, each one of these actions, where it says, if this one is not yet, like, you know, if let's say we're here, it says if this one is not yes, when I press next action, it takes me to this app. But I automatically go to that app. And one of the things that we did is, because here on this first step, we're capturing the information of that robot, you know, what serial number it is and all that. So when you press next action, it loads the, you know, that Tulip ID for that robot into the current users table. So it just like temporarily stores it there so that that table knows what robot this person is working on. So then when you go into, you know, next action, it brings you into, we'll say, it brings you into here. And so yes, you know, we have like a training folder, there's an experienced folder, and then the mobile folder. Then it brings you to here, and the first thing it does is it loads the record based on the current user, and it says bring in whatever ID they were working on.
That is so awesome. That's thanks for showing this, because there actually is a discussion for basically like sending parameters when
Yeah.
yeah, but doing this is like actually a really good solution. I think it's
Yeah, no, it's the idea. Yeah, it's exactly like using the current user table is just so powerful because you can just like, yeah, just quickly store information there. And because the same person is going to be on the other side to action on it, it pulls that in right away.
yeah.
And so that one's been a lot of fun. And then when this one gets completed, it then changes, in our master record, saying that, that this was done. And so then you go back into this one and it says, it changes this to like a yes completion.
Yeah.
And so then, one of these actions is a quality thing. So when this last action gets completed, this one has to be done by a different assembler or by a different person in the facility. So they get an automatic notification to say, hey, there's something queued up for you.
To check.
And then once that they complete it, this gets marked as a yes, and then the assembly team knows that they can proceed.
Yeah.
And so the idea was this super simple, just the assembler that's working on it just presses next action, and it just brings you to whatever is the next step that needs to happen.
That's awesome. And also like are all of these representative of a specific station within?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, so that's why everything is still tied to, so that's why like every single step has, so actually, so, we have like our, our parts list. And so then there's this cool thing here where when you press next here, it shows you this trigger and it says, it's not this one. It is, but basically using the current user one, every time that a completion gets done, it stores that person has completed this app. And so we have a trigger in here that when you press next, if your amount of completions are fewer than some threshold, it brings you into this training subgroup where you have to click through every step. But if your amount of completions are greater than some threshold, it brings you to the experienced one where, the assembler knows how to do every step. And, they have this to kind of go through and like be refreshed, but they can just press complete at any point. And we're still capturing that data.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's but both really good uses of the user table.
But then, so then in this same app, we then have, the mobile version of it. So the idea is no matter how they choose to complete this, all of that counts as the same completion and all of that data gets stored in the same thing because ultimately the assembler is still doing the same work. It's just that, is this someone that we feel confident and, they don't need to see the steps in the slightest and they can just kind of, work off the mobile as just a timer? Is this someone that is more experienced, but, we want them to still kind of have this like easier to reference thing? Or is this someone that is brand new and we're trying to bring them up and we want them to go through the step-by-step training?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that one's been really fun. Then we have the
just as I have to hop off here. It's really cool. I've actually never used the user table for like that passing of parameters. I've always I've used like I create a table for station name and I pass parameters attached to the station name, which I think the user thing like works a lot better in a lot of cases. So that's a really interesting, like I'm really happy I saw that. But I wanted to let you know that you could, in cases where the user may change, but you wanted to pass parameters like that, you could also use the station table if you have like a dedicated device. And you can, because like a station name is shared across applications as well. So that's a strong point of continuity that you can like attach parameters to.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, thanks for sharing that one.
Yeah, and the other thing, if you do it by station like that, I've also seen you can do like a top-down view of the whole facility, and then you can store colors. You can say like, oh, this station here is green, or you can have like an add-on system where like if they need help, it turns to red or yellow, or like you can see how long they've been on a specific step, and you have like a really nice
yeah, and
happening.
So that was one of the things that I remember you and I started working on, like, the first like couple weeks when we were getting Tulip set up, a bit over a year ago, where we kind of created that app that has like the layout, and we were trying to pull in data, and it was definitely we were way ahead of our time back then. Like, it was like, all right, let's make sure we even have the right tools
Yeah.
But that's definitely, yeah, like the idea of kind of creating dashboards as apps has just been such a powerful idea.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Especially with the dynamic analytics now, I mean, it's a total. I did a machine monitoring dashboard for a customer that was like 1,200 analytics, because it would be like they have 40 machines with all of their different OEE parameters, and then they wanted to see today's data versus yesterday's versus last week's, and we like evolved it to this new analytic structure with dynamic analytics, and we went from 1,200 to like 16. We were able to dynamically filter 16 analytics and like provide more functionality, so they weren't just limited to seeing like last week's data. They could specify in a date time picker the exact start and end date for what they wanted to view. So it's been a complete game changer.
that's super cool.
But I do have to hop off. So thanks for sharing. This has been super interesting, and happy belated birthday, Gio.
Oh, thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, and so then, so one of the other things that we were working on that we got really excited about. So we have this one for the end of line testing, and so again, we have like the desktop set up, but on the mobile one, the idea of just pass fail. So the pass one, super simple, just stores that. I guess apparently not super simple. We just kind of like
Comparatively,
store the data that it passed, and store like what the date was. All sorts of just pretty standard parameters. The fail one is the one that gets more interesting. So I think right here it just brings you to, yeah, so it effectively brings you to this like description where you fill in all this information.
Okay.
And this is where it got really fun, where because we wanted to keep this data all in relation to the serial number that is being worked on. Like, right, that's what we want the ID to be. But we wanted to say if a robot fails more than once, we want to know how many times it failed, and we want to see what the failure was each time.
Okay.
And so we created this monster of a trigger that, so if the first failure hasn't happened and it's blank, it's going to just pretty standard fill in all that information.
the description, the photo.
Yeah,
Right.
like, yeah. But if it's not blank, if this robot has failed before, it's, so we're incrementing the number of failures by one. We're now incrementing the amount of time that this robot has been in rework. So we're adding in the new time to the old time.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So it
And
sums
then-
it up.
Yeah, and then this is where it got really interesting. So then we'd have to load the record to bring in what the failure type was, or like what the failure was before. And this time, since it's being saved as a variable, we then added the variable to the table record and basically did that for all of it.
Oh, cool.
Then-
So essentially you're building and then it just keeps stacking it. Oh, there it is.
So then we
Cool.
created this table where, for this singular serial number, you can then see, you can see that this robot has failed twice. This is how long cumulatively it's been through. And then you can click into it, and then see what was the failure type, what was the description each time.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of keep this all linked to it. So then it's easy to see, all right, these robots are failing more often. Is it the same failure coming through each time?
Yeah, this is really cool. I mean, it's it's really impressive. Great job building it. I mean, I think linked table records would help here because
Yeah.
yeah, it would help a lot because like for example, I mean, you guys ever need to know? Okay, so the record number 5 there, like you need to know of those 22 minutes, how many were due because of camera failure and how many were attributed to
Yes.
whatever. Yeah.
And so this is exactly what we want to do, right? Where we would then have a separate table that just has complete, like the ID is whatever it wants to be. And the ID is a unique ID for every individual failure. We
Yeah.
then link what serial number it is, and then we could say this is how much time this failure took, this is what the failure was. And then that all comes to here. So then we could see, all right, this one has had 2 failures. We could see each individual failure, and then that is broken down in a separate table that is a unique entry per failure.
Yeah.
Yeah. and then being able to then link all of this information into a like more like master database of seeing which robots have had failures at any point in the process.
Yeah. And I mean, I think this data here is really interesting to share with the engineering team as well, so they can see, or it's like, you can then do a Pareto of like, okay, my guess is going to be like an 80-20 of like, okay, these core set of failures are attributed to this many hours of rework time. So it'd be really nice to see.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, no, entirely. And so, so that's pretty much. And so right now, currently we have, this failure type is a drop down where we have our like known failure issues, but we have this other where then it allows them to kind of fill this information in to pretty much make a Pareto and start to see what are our common failure types, how much does each failure type take up in terms of time, to understand where is the best value add problem solving.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of our bigger wins that we're excited about.
They're awesome. I mean, thinking back when you mentioned about a year ago, and I mean, you guys have done so much in a year. It's awesome.
It's been incredible just to see how far we've brought everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are these dinos?
Eddie is being pulled away.
Oh, okay.
So this was my first exposure to Tulip. I had never worked with it before, and then so I'm the production supervisor. But as Eddie is going to be working on future products, etc., I'm kind of like beginning to learn and be able to kind of transfer knowledge over there.
Nice.
So it's been since probably a month and a half of me understanding and trying to learn how it's all come together. But it's good because Eddie and I are so different that our minds think differently. So I'm able to bounce ideas off each other, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't think about it that way," or stuff like that. So having two dynamic different minds is able to kind of bring this end of line. Like I bring these ideas to him, and he's like, "Let me try to think about it." Especially the end of line one, we're going to be doing for 4 other of our stations. So it's going to be interesting to do it on the 4 other test stations that we do in order to complete to finished goods.
Yeah.
But I did actually have a question.
Real
Yeah.
quick, I think that's a really important point you bring up, actually, because it is very much designed to be a team tool, where different people that have different skills that know different parts of the process can work together. So it's really great to hear that, you guys are working well together and building apps.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing because I'm more on the work order side, and obviously the users are technically below me kind of thing, building the units. So for me to ask him can we do this, and him to be like, I don't know, let's try it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, this is kind of a cool place to work. I've only been here for about 6 months, so.
Okay.
And I only started during quarantine, which is kind of weird. I only started in April, so
Okay. Yeah.
kind of a weird dynamic there. But it's been great to kind of understand how complex Tulip is too, and understanding there's so much there. And for Eddie to have done this by himself, I was like, with your help, I was like, can you I don't know. It's been a lot.
Yeah.
It's we're so different in how we've come together.
Yeah.
I mean,
everything.
it can get complex, of course, and you guys are really starting to do really advanced stuff, but also people use it sometimes a lot of the use cases are actually very simple, and just so that's what I like. It's there's a whole range.
Yeah.
Even now that you guys have all these complex apps, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of months time you find a use case that's dead simple. Actually there was one a couple of months ago where they were just taking inventory, and it was literally a single step app that a whole massive warehouse, they took inventory over a weekend in Tulip, and it was just literally one step that was recording information on the inventory that was in the warehouse, and it was really simple, no connectors, nothing, but it was worked really well for that. So it's interesting to see those use cases as well.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, having Aubrey on board has been just so exciting because it's prior to her, there was just nobody else here who really kind of had the time or put any effort into learning a lot more about the power of Tulip. So it was just me, like, going around like preaching gospel about like how great it is. Everybody was just like, all right, stay behind keep knocking on the door. And so now it's just great to like kind of have someone else that like gets it and like, but also can kind of just like, we can like work together to like brainstorm something that we're working on, but also just like find new use cases.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I was telling Aubrey, it is very much a team tool, that it's intended
Yeah.
to work together. So it's, yeah, and yeah, actually, do you guys have approvals on your apps set up?
We don't at the moment. That's
No.
something that I think that came up at the user council.
Oh yeah,
So it's something that definitely we want to do going forward.
yeah,
But it's just kind of getting that a little bit more set up.
yeah. Especially as you get more users on board, I think it's important to get that
Yeah.
set up. Yeah.
I don't know if this is possible. Linking
Yeah.
this
Did you mention you had a couple of questions?
to the resource calendar. So last week we actually added I think it was,
Oh
and
yeah.
imported the resource calendar
Yeah.
to from you guys into our sandbox. But is there a way, I guess, with the same way that we would be connecting this like work order connector into the resource calendar automatically? Like if I were to open a work order in the NetSuite and the connector, could that be linked into that resource calendar at the moment? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So you are getting the date. So to be honest, I don't know exactly how the resource calendar is set up. Like my intuition says yes, like you should be able to just map it to that, but it kind of depends on how the information is coming in to it. But you are getting the dates, so I think it should be good. I think the only thing that might require a little bit of configuration is like the time scale. If you want to display on the resource calendar, like by day or by week or by month or whatever. But yeah, that can absolutely be done. And actually, next week I'll mention. I'll ask Mark Friedman. I think he was here last week actually because he built the resource calendar, and I'll ask him to join as well, so you can walk through how to do that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, work orders. He was like, maybe. He's like, let's back it up.
Yeah.
I was like, that was imported last week. Let me see if that's
Yeah.
like something that we can do.
Yeah.
Because having kind of like that displayed and
Yep.
kind of being able to, as you have your user table, to be able to kind of link all of that work. We have a pretty small facility at the moment. So having kind of the users to come in and understand by clicking into something, this is what their work is assigned for the week, will allow, us to work more efficiently. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. And be able to kind of track time more efficiently and when things are complete.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're chasing this dream of making our jobs obsolete.
Oh, right?
That's awesome. Right,
Yeah.
just build an app that build apps. That build
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, I think that's all we got.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it looks like it was only you guys that joined this week. Is there anything else in the future for future office hours? Just because it's a program that we're still kind of building out. Is there something that would be useful that you guys would be interested in seeing, like how other people are using it, new features? Like what would be the best? I mean, it is intended to be like open conversation, but if there are other things that you guys would like to see, we can start coming prepared.
I think it's super interesting to kind of like one of the things that I've valued a lot, like from the user council and kind of like from the the 2 office hours so far, is just seeing kind of highlighting what other people are working on, right? Because that's definitely sparked so much, just like being able to like seeing in the user council that that Dave was doing exactly what we're trying to do, or like very similarly. It was just like, oh my god, like that's a brilliant way to solve this.
It's possible.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, and I feel like in the office hours, because it seems like a slightly kind of like lower commitment, like kind of just like a little bit more like relaxed environment, just kind of like showcasing what other people are like proud of, or like what are some of their like the cool like apps that have been built. Definitely I think is pretty fun.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's like, so community, like in the past couple of months has started to like get a lot more users in and a lot more posts.
Yeah.
And like, one of the most interesting things has been like when somebody posts something, so often somebody else, like in the other side of the world, will be like, "Oh, I have this exact same question," or "Oh, I
Yeah.
read through," and I love seeing that. It's like because like Tulip is used for like lots of different ways, different places, manufacture different things, but oftentimes people want to do pretty similar things. So when someone posts on community and then somebody else comes in, it's like, "Oh, I'm having that same exact issue," and work through it together. It's
Yeah.
really awesome.
No, it was funny because I mean the folders one was a perfect example, right? Because Aubrey and I were talking about it. We're just like, man, it would be nice if we could do this. And I was about to like shoot you an email. And I was like, wait, I was like, let's go through the proper channels. Let's community and let's post it there because other people might be interested in this. And so then search for folders and it's just like right there, exactly what we're trying to do. And so it's cool. And so and so I mean, I think on the office hours front, it might also be interesting to have like if there is like some like topic that is gaining traction in the community, kind of having it like this is the highlight for the
Yeah.
office hours.
Yeah, you're right. That'd be really interesting, actually. It's kind of like happened a little bit like, or like at the start, like in the first couple of weeks before you guys started joining, there were some users down in South Carolina that were building some really cool things. But I think doing like a highlight of the week is a great idea.
Yeah.
But and going back to the folders point, that like that specific post, I think when our platform and engineering team see requests or see how users are using it directly from users, it's so much more valuable, because it's not, it doesn't go through somebody else. It's not filtered, it's just direct. So
It's like this is what the customers are asking
Exactly.
for, kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, for example, like if you guys could share like a couple of those things that you shared today in community through posts, like I can help you write them out. That'd be really awesome, actually.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it.
Just like it's something that it's like like we're so proud of like some of the things that we figured out, and so just like giving someone kind of that like inspiration or just like, hey, look, like went through the head for you, like
Yeah, right.
you can have a different headache. Save this one.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you exactly. There's no reason why somebody else should have to go through the same exercise of building it out if you guys already go through the effort. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And it's also nice to see like there's so much capability there.
Yeah.
Like the things that I'm realizing, like holy crap, like you can do that in this. Like that's exactly what we're looking for. Is like how did he do that? Like like let's go back to the user or the the presentation that went on and like can we search a picture? Like how do you watch those recordings? Like
but it's funny, right? Because like Aubrey and I are like the power users of Tulip here now. So it's like we have to kind of be careful not to not to overpromise to other people. Because they're like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Like, yeah, build it out. And I'm just like, no, you don't understand. Like, I have the rest of my job to deal with. Like, the one that I see really high value in going forward is doing a full warehouse management with it.
Yeah.
When you mentioned the scanning system.
Yeah, just like exactly like you said, right? Like if we have everything, if we have every bin, every location with the barcode on there, it's just so easy to kind of come through and just scan. And we have the ability to print all our barcodes on demand. Like it's just
I was about to say
it's an integration that's well within our capability, as opposed to dropping however many thousands of dollars for the NetSuite warehouse management system.
Yeah.
And it's going to kind of present its own like integration issues, and why pay a consultant, when we're here for free.
No, I think, I mean, in that same user advisory council, you saw the presentation from Michael and Grant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Like they're using it for, I mean, literally millions of parts, so it can scale as well. That's a cool thing about it. Yeah.
I was like, comparative to those guys, I was like, we have one warehouse, not
we have like 200 unique parts all within like
exactly. We have 3 users.
You can stand and look at every single part.
Literally.
You can see every single station.
I know.
So it's like trying to like put down good practices now so that it is scalable.
Yeah. Actually, one of the other cool warehouse management little things I saw is somebody because it was a pretty small warehouse and we were like pretty space constrained, and like they were often changing the products they were making. So they bought little e-ink displays.
Mhm.
That, you know, like the ones some supermarkets have them. where
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you can like program them to display the barcode. So like they were just like moving parts around, or like moving like to the front of the warehouse, like more easily accessible ones, different parts, and they could just update the locations of the bins in Tulip. And
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it was really awesome. And they were
That's,
super cheap. Yeah,
are they really?
yeah, it's super cheap.
That's some factory of the future stuff right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been trying to get justification for getting the Zebra printer that can print RFID tags,
Oh,
because that becomes just a huge game changer, just like in terms of like our production. But the idea is to eventually, because right now with Tulip at least, if you have an RFID reader and you badge into it, it automatically treats that as a badge ID and logs in that person.
yeah.
But you know, in some future state, it would be cool if you can use an RFID as a like if you can pull that data in and like use that as a trigger for something.
Yep. So actually, if you use it as a log, like right now, you need to choose one of the two.
Yeah. I remember. Yeah, because I asked you about this a while back when I kind of like
Okay,
thought
yeah,
about this. Yeah, you said
yeah,
you have to choose between the two. And
yeah,
so,
right.
yeah.
But yeah, in a future state, if you could use it for both, it would be awesome. Yeah. Right now, it's just because, like, yeah, there are some reasons why it can't be done, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We got plenty of other things to optimize.
Yeah. Yeah.
And daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, because actually, so another really fun thing is, so we got some pretty like standard Android phones, and then I got an adapter that went from like USB-C to USB, and then I connected in one of the like RFIDs badge readers.
Oh yeah.
If you just like Velcro it on the back of the phone, basically, and you have the camera on there, you've created this relatively pretty budget like barcode reader, QR scan, like barcode QR scanner, and like RFID reader in one. That you know where that normally go for minimum like $1,000. This like comical little like bundle of like everything.
Yeah. Right. That's awesome.
But oh,
I think it worked.
all right, let's see.
I think it worked. I think we have the connection now.
Oh wow, really nice.
Oh, wait, wrong one.
Maybe not.
Well, no, I think that one's just like loading incorrectly. I have way too many things open. Variable. This is bomb array results. Connector array.
Work order. Look at this doing that.
Let's saving this one to work orders, which means I want this to display the variable to work order results. Then I want to show that.
Oh, it's something right there.
Huh?
That's
Oh,
it.
wait, yeah.
It's on top of each other, but.
Oh my God,
It
look
did
at
it.
that.
It worked.
It worked.
Nice.
The interactive table works now. Like saving the variable, the array straight into the table. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, all right. We just got to keep this quiet. We just got
I
a
know, no one
2-week vacation.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for your help.
Yeah, that's a great note to end on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see you next week. But
Yeah.
great job building everything you've been building, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah,
That's great.
definitely. Thanks
Thank
so
you very
much.
much.
All right, see ya.
Good day.
Take
See ya.
care.